Welcome back. So today's tip, which is the fifth in our series, is actually going to take us back a step and just touch again on where your strategy sits in your number strategy and preparing yourself for the auction as a buyer. So a little bit different here. I'm actually going to show you something that you've probably never seen before. A lot of real estate salespeople never see this either. But as an auctioneer, before I start, I've got a game plan and I know where my numbers sit. And in fact, to be honest, I practice the auction in my head. So in this example, and this is what I would write on my auction details, I would write that I think I'll open the auction, or I expect a buyer will open the auction at 500,000. The market's around 700 and I call that a run to. If I needed to vendor bid, which you can legally do in New Zealand, you must disclose, it's a nice practice, then I wouldn't do it anywhere past that 700. If that's the feedback, I'd want to be maybe 750, 800 on the feedback, I would pull up at 700. But what I'm saying to myself there is, if it slows down, it's probably going to slow down around that number there. And R is for reserve. So we never tell our buyers where the reserve is. You're just not going to know that if you come to one of our auctions. But what I'm going to do is give you every chance to buy the property. Now I'll do, this year I'll rattle off probably around 500 auctions. We'll do a fantastic job on all of those. And I still go in prepared with those numbers every single time, so I know what I'm doing. I think through the auction, I call those numbers in my head, so I'm rattling off my 500s all the way up. And yet the buyers seem to turn up without having done that. And that probably makes sense now if you're looking at this as a buyer. So what I'm going to suggest is, if I've got that strategy and I do 500 of these every year and you do one, at least have some numbers on your page and come in ready to go. So on your page, you'll do something similar. It'd be lovely if it started at this, and then you'll run up to a point at which you're out. So I won't have these two match, okay? So over here I'm going to talk about a different auction. Don't think it's matching the numbers on this side. But as a buyer, you might come in and you might say, look, our budget on this property is 450,000, and at 450,000 we can afford it. Past that, we have to stop. This won't be the house for us. So 450 is sitting there at the top. You might think, okay, where would it be lovely if this starts? If the auctioneer said to us, opening bidder offer, where would you like your auction to start? What number would we call out? Well, we might be 340. And then you'll fill in your increments as you go up there. So let's just quickly do that. So you can see how that'll go, 350, 360, 370, 380. I might then call it 400, 410, 420, and then you'll fill out your numbers across the page. You've got that, I'm suggesting you've got that written on a page and on an A4 with you. You can use the auction terms and conditions, fold them in half, and have those numbers written down. As you're running through the auction, you're literally running your thumb up the side of that page, keeping an eye on where you're at. And it's easy for me having those numbers, they just float around in my head, I can see them, they're all in colour, they're magic. But for the buyer, it may be the first time you've rattled through those numbers, and it could be pretty quick. So run your thumb up the side there so you know exactly where the bidding's at. And then the next thing you do, and if you're a professional negotiator, this terminology will mean something. If not, it'll sound like it's Greek. You have what is called a ZOPA, a zone of potential agreement. So you're hoping your ZOPA or your zone of potential agreement is up there, which means the owner is thinking something similar to you, and you've got a chance to get it together. They say we're on the market and we've got the opportunity to sell. So you're hoping your ZOPA is sitting in there. But as I run down towards the end of my ZOPA, the range I can go to, we put in something like a tripwire. And for the people that do the negotiation courses with us, you'll understand this 100%. For the guys on our teams, they talk and think like this all the time. So as a buyer, run your thumb up as you go. Bidding gets to 410. You line across the page. That's your tripwire. Mentally saying to yourself, okay, I need to be a bit cautious here. And as I've always said, if you get excited and carried away, I love it. But stay within budget. So at a certain point, you're saying, we need to realize we are coming to the end of our budget. And then at a certain point, you stop. It has to be the next house. Or you stop and you've got it. So there you go. Keep your numbers, run your strategy. I do 500 a year and I've got a strategy every single time. I would not walk in ever without my own strategy. Where do I think it'll open? At what point do I think it'll start to slow down? And in my case, what's our reserve? Your one is, where would you love it to open? At what point are you having to be very careful and starting maybe to put the brakes on? And at what point do you stop? And then hopefully, I wish you well, and hopefully that Zopa means that this house is all yours and you don't have to go and do any more open homes with the agents. So I hope that's helped. I'm Wayne Maguire, and we'll put another tip up next week. Thank you.